Well, huge explosions shake the Syrian capital, Damascus. The government is blaming Israel for the multiple rocket attack. The assault comes in the wake of extensive military operations by the Syrian army, with the foreign-backed insurgents suffering heavy defeats. Syria says the new attack is part of efforts to raise the spirits of terrorist groups, including al-Qaeda militants fighting against the government. Some Israeli sources say the overnight attack targeted Iranian missiles destined for Lebanon's Hezbollah movement, but Tehran has rejected the allegations.
Massive blasts ripped through the Syrian capital, Damascus. The government is blaming Israel for the multiple rocket attacks. According to reports by Syrian media, the Israeli rocket attack targeted a research center in Jamara, in the northwest of Damascus. Some Israeli sources say the overnight attack targeted Iranian missiles destined for Lebanon's Hezbollah movement. Israel targeted the same research facility back in January. The assault comes in the wake of extensive military operations by the Syrian army, inflicting heavy losses on the foreign-backed insurgents. Syria says the new attack comes as part of an effort to raise the spirits of terrorist groups, including al-Qaeda militants fighting against the government.
We have been seeing a military operation by the Syrian, major advancement and liberation of lands been occupied by the opposition. I think the Israeli came to the rescue of the Syrian opposition, came to the rescue of al-Qaeda, and they want to enter and fight on the opposition side.
According to the United Nations, at least 70,000 people have died in Syria since the violence broke out in the country back in 2011. The Syrian government blames the United States, its Western and regional allies, including Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, for fueling the unrest by supporting armed groups. On Friday, Israeli warplanes targeted an unspecified location in Syria. Israeli officials claim the attack targeted a shipment of advanced missiles bound for the Lebanese resistance movement Hezbollah. Some analysts believe that the United States has given Israel the green light to launch an attack on Syria.
Involvement from the United States and the European Union, as well as Israel. For them, I would have expected the United States to attack, and that would have probably not been as bad as if Israel attacked. So why they have allowed and gave the green light to Israel to attack Syria, that remains to be answered.
Security is important.
US President Barack Obama has recently said that Israel has the right to protect itself against transfer of arms to Lebanon's resistance movement Hezbollah. Earlier this week, Tel Aviv called up several thousand reservists for what it called a surprise military exercise near the Lebanese border. Hezbollah has warned that any Israeli military action against Lebanon will trigger a crushing response. Israel waged a 33-day war against Lebanon back in 2006. More than 120 Israeli soldiers and over 1,000 Lebanese, most of them civilians, were killed in the aggression. Now there are growing fears that any such confrontation will further destabilize the Middle East region.
Well, to discuss that a bit further, I join Mr. Ala Ibrahim, who is a political analyst who's joining us live now from Damascus. Sir, thanks a lot for joining us. Now, we've heard two reasons for this Israeli strike in Syria. Firstly, from the Israelis themselves, that they were trying to stop missiles from reaching Hezbollah. And the second, from the Syrian government, saying that this was an attempt to try to boost the morale of the insurgents. Where do you stand on this?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. And I would like to add to that, I think it's a move of intimidation. The Israelis are trying to show that now that the Syrian army has lost some of its aerial defense powers, the Israelis are stretching their muscles more than once and showing that they can infiltrate Syrian airspace with their missiles and fighter jets when they want. I think in a broader sense, this is not just a direct aid movement to the rebels. This is not only an act against alleged shipments of weapons, if there is such a thing, really. I think more and more this is Israel trying to manipulate the events in Syria to push it in the direction that it feels it will best serve its interest. Let's bear in mind, just last week, key and high-ranking intelligence and military officials in Israel said that anyone who doesn't understand that the toppling of the Syrian government or the Syrian regime as anyone who doesn't understand this as a pure interest to Israel is short-sighted or under-informed or something to that effect. So I think Israel is trying to manipulate the course of events in Syria to better serve its interests, which is to destroy the country and bring down the government.
So then do you believe that such manipulation will work, and will it work in the insurgents' favor at all?
Well, I think when we're speaking about the insurgents and Israel, there's something very suspicious going on. Let's bear in mind that one of the key targets of insurgents through the past year was aerial defenses for the Syrian army, and everyone who is familiar with the details of the conflict in Syria would tell you that aerial defense bases represents no significance whatsoever to the insurgents, because if they attack it, they can't neutralize any firepower that the government has, because this firepower is reserved to rebel fighter jets, and obviously the insurgents don't have fighter jets. So it was very suspicious and weird actually at that time to see that the rebels would make a point out of attacking aerial defense bases. Later on, we've seen the rebels moving freely in areas that Israel keeps under a watchful eye, like the buffer zone between the occupied part of Syrian Golan and the liberated part. And such a movement, many people say, would never have happened without at least Israel turning a blind eye to that. So all in all, I think something is very suspicious here, allow me to say, and they seem to complement each other. Maybe this is not an agreement between the two sides, but their efforts seem to be complementary to one another, and they seem to be going in the same direction.
All right, we'll have to leave it for now, but of course we do appreciate your insight as always. That's Mr. Ella Ibrahim speaking to us live from Damascus.